reaction now to the President's State of the Nation address.
He is appointing a minister to focus on the project of getting ESCOM right. And give that project man leader the capacity and the authority of a minister. So to me, I think there's nothing wrong with that. It has an impact on the existing departments. But you must also wait, be patient, because the President said the structure of the government will be announced in due course. That means that he is going to look into repackaging of the ministries. And that is quite important.
Well, I think that, like most owners, there's some things that you welcome and some that you oppose. I think it's a terrible idea to have this national state of disaster to deal with an electricity crisis. I think it's an abuse, and we saw the looting and maladministration that took place under the COVID-19 state of disaster, as well as governments meddling and killing of jobs and the private sector. So I think it's a terrible idea. I also think it's a terrible idea to layer another minister on top of the energy crisis. You've already got two ministers who haven't got it right and who frankly have stood in the way of us being able to have energy security. You're now adding a third cook into the batch, around this terrible pot that is ESCOM. I think the President should rather announce us getting all the ministers out of the way. Let's get people who are energy experts and industry experts who have been through this around the world and get us out of this crisis.
Well, setting up all these new, administrations and ministers is not going to help the situation. I think it's something that we could have arrested and dealt with some time ago. The President was trying to kick for touch, as far as we are concerned, on the electricity issue and on a number of other issues, because all the things that he said about the other issues we've heard before. But we haven't seen implementable plans on the ground that would satisfy the South African nation that something is happening by this government. Much more can be done by government, which they are not doing. And we just hope that, this will bring, some invigoration into his executive and into his department, but we don't see it that way.
Let me foreground it by saying that the cabinet discussion has been about the impact of this very severe load shedding on the economy and on ordinary people. And we have to be able to catalyze everyone in the state and ensure that we can also deal with the impact of load shedding on the most vulnerable in society. And that requires extraordinary measures. And so the discussion in Cabinet has been how to pull together all of that to be able to deal with a crisis that is impacting on the manufacturing sector, on mining, on South Africa's capacity to create jobs. And part of what we're seeking to do in the period ahead is ensure that energy is front and center in what we do. Many of the other programs of government will not have any impact if we can't get to the point where we reduce load shedding and eventually ensure that we have a sufficient energy supply to meet the needs of South Africans and of the economy.